Welcome back. I'm still talking to former Brexit Party MEP Ben Habib. Ben, let's talk about the migrant crisis. So we learned today that with the sickening inevitability, the daily cost of housing migrants in hotels all over the country, about 500 of them. We've been saying for many months now, 7 million a day. Well, it's now more than 8 million a day. And then sort of almost comically, we learned that down in Portland in Dorset, where the Bibby Stockholm barge lies, a rusting, empty hulk with no migrants on it, there's yet another plan to make it safe. So we were told that I think this week 435 or something migrants may go on board. But no, they're going over it again to make it safe, having done it about 5 times before. It's 50 years old, that boat. It's never caught fire. Of course, the fire brigade described it as a floating Grenfell. They're never going to get anybody on board that thing, are they?
I mean, it's complete red herring, frankly, other than the vast cost that we've expended on Bibby Stockholm. In policy terms, it's a complete red herring. Even if it worked in spades, it was only ever going to accommodate 500 people. That, you know, now that we're in the sort of peak period for migrants crossing the channel, that's less than 1 day's intake. You know, this notion that we can get a grip of the illegal crossings of the channel through domestic measures, either to house them in tents or Bibby Stockholm or air bases, or to deport them to Rwanda, or to deter them somehow, that approach to the migrant crisis is a completely flawed approach. There is no solution that can be delivered to the illegal crossings of the channel through domestic legislation and measures taken domestically in the United Kingdom. There's only one solution to this migrant crisis. It doesn't come with bilateral agreements with France. It comes with unilateral British action in the channel. We have to develop the political will and courage to stop the boats. Unless and until this government recognizes that border control means the controlling of our borders in a physical sense, the traditional sense that we all associate with borders when we think about them, we will not get a grip of this crisis. The reason we have the crisis is because Italy, Greece, the West Balkans have completely failed in their obligation to their own people to stop the boats in the Mediterranean and turn them round, as they are entitled to do under international law. Instead, they've taken these people in. Lampedusa, which is this island off the coast of Italy, looks like a completely dystopian vision of what is yet to come across the entirety of Europe. Once they get into Italy, they can then use the Schengen zone effectively to travel freely wherever they wish to go, encouraged, therefore, to come straight to Calais, park themselves on the beach, pay a smuggling gang that treads this well-trodden route day in, day out, and should have been busted by the French authority, you know, years ago, pay them significant sums of money, willfully get into these dinghies, all of them looking pretty healthy as they enter those dinghies, leave France, where they have £5,000 a year spent on them, and come to the UK, where we spend £50,000 a year on them. And rising, as you said, last year we spent £4 billion on housing, treating and medically caring for these illegal migrants. That's more per head than we pay our veterans who are homeless, more per head than we pay those on benefits in the United Kingdom. The maximum you can get on benefits is £23,000 a year. As a British citizen, £23,000 a year. We're spending £50,000 a year on each illegal migrant. That is no deterrent. As I say, no domestic policy is going to get a grip of this. We need a government that recognises what border control is, and then Border Force needs to be trained and directed to do its job.
Yes, indeed, and this is going to get worse and worse and worse. Only recently, it was predicted that in 3 years' time, we're seeing this nightly cost of the hotels and the various accommodation centres where migrants are being held. To the best of my knowledge, Ben, this bold scheme to commission disused air bases, derelict prisons, holiday camps, We haven't got a single migrant into any of them so far due to local protests. And as we just alluded to, the Bibi Stockholm barge lies there, a rusting hulk, a symbol of the fiasco of the migrant crisis. And in 3 years' time, it is confidently predicted that our nightly hotel bill for migrants will be £30 million. That's £11 billion a year. I seem to remember the Prime Minister not so long ago standing before a lectern on which was written, "Stop the boats." He should have put on the bit, "I will not stop the boats." It is absolutely hopeless. Now, still with Mr. Sunak, he's beginning to spot that his green policies might not be that popular. You know, it's taken a long time for some of the people in Westminster to realise if you instigate policies that make people poorer, you know, with big levies on their energy bills, and make them colder because of useless heat pumps that are getting rid of their perfectly good gas boilers. If you tell them you can't drive petrol cars or diesel cars, if you tell them you can't go to Spain on holiday because it's bad for the environment, the aeroplane will damage the ecology, if you tell them all of that, that maybe it's not a vote winner. So it's finally dawned on our Prime Minister, people don't actually want this. So now, with hearing tales of it's the bonfire of the green pledges, he's going to cut back on all of it. He's not going to ban new petrol and diesel cars by 2030. But of course, all of which I think is quite encouraging because people don't give a damn about this green claptrap. They're just trying to feed their kids, keep a roof over their heads, get to work. They don't care about any of this. That's all very encouraging. However, of course, with the sickening inevitability, he says, but we're still committed to carbon net zero by 2050, which means the nightmare will continue.
The nightmare will continue, and that is the sad thing. It is, of course, welcome that he's deferred the, making illegal of internal combustion engines, and he's taking the pressure off heat pumps, etc. But that is just a pimple. The commitments made in the Paris Accord to reduce carbon emissions by a certain percentage each year until we get to 2050, that commitment remains. And that commitment is not just in the Paris Accord, but it's in the Trade and Cooperation Agreement that we signed with the European Union. And it is no doubt in a whole host of other commitments we've made internationally, which is partly why I'm so sick and tired of these commitments and multilateral arrangements we entered into. They forever
which will make no difference to the world ecology at all, because we're a very, very minor emitter of carbon emissions. So we only produce less than 1%. China, meanwhile, produces 28%. But if you could just get rid of carbon net zero, the pledge to get to that by 2050, which we won't do, no one really understands what it means anyway, especially politicians.
I can tell you what it means. Yeah. It means we're going to be economically destitute.
Yeah, exactly.
Is what it means if they don't get off this path.
Yeah, well, we carry on buying windmills and solar panels from China. It is so incoherent and ridiculous. It defies belief. I just want to get a quick last word from you, Ben, on Nigel Farage yesterday slamming the Financial Conduct Authority, which has conducted an investigation into whether or not people are being debanked. They're having their accounts closed for political reasons. It has concluded that this is not happening and did not happen. Well, it is happening. It happened to Nigel Farage. Why did Dame Alison Gray have to resign as the CEO of NatWest and Coutts? I'll tell you why she had to resign, because it was categorically proved that Nigel Farage's accounts were closed because of his politics.
So the Financial Conduct Authority is part of the problem. It's not part of the solution here. The Financial Conduct Authority itself, if you go to its website, practices DEI, diversity, equality and inclusion. It also practices the promotion of this inexorable drive to economic emasculation through net zero. It is a completely captured institution. The idea that it could have reviewed thousands of bank accounts that have been closed every day over the last year, in the last couple of months, and then reach a conclusion that it's got nothing to do with people's political ideology is fundamentally flawed. What it is a whitewash from the FCA, and it is absolutely right that Nigel Farage is calling them out. The FCA is doing its job in that it is regulating entities like Coutts, requiring them actually to take a view on people like Nigel. Quite the antithesis of what they should be doing in reality. But they are regulating Coutts, and they are encouraging people like Coutts, insurance companies, pension funds, public companies, to promote DEI, to promote this inexorable march towards net zero. Nigel disagreed with that, and the FCA doesn't like it. The FCA doesn't like it. None of the entities which it regulates like it. They are all captured by that regulatory framework. But while I'm on the FCA, I should just say, my own company, which is a listed company, has made 2 serious complaints to the FCA about certain confidential matters that I can't disclose on air in the last few months. The FCA hasn't even acknowledged receipt of those complaints, let alone investigated them. Well, the FCA is not interested in doing its job. Kevin.
They probably found out, Ben, that you're not left-wing, and that for them is the ultimate crime. It's a disgrace. It is happening, and they say it's not. It absolutely is happening. It happened to Nigel Farage. How can they say it's not happening? Absolutely disgraceful. Ben, fantastic to talk to you as always. That was Ben Habib, former Brexit Party MEP. When we come back, we'll be going live to University College Hospital, to the picket line where consultants and junior doctors are synchronising a 3-day walkout described as the worst strike in NHS history. That next. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan. This is Talk TV live from the Talk Radio studios.